Today is a short one, but it's a really good one. This was maybe the best piece of pork that I've ever cooked. It's a pork rib roast, and this is now we're cooking. So last week I showed you guys a ham and bean soup, well, quote unquote ham and bean soup, and I originally had intended to do a pork rib roast, but the roast that I got was cut incorrectly, so I made ham and bean soup out of lemons, that sort of thing. So this video, I went back, I got the right pork roast, the right pork rib roast, and that's what we're doing today. So the first thing we're doing was we're making some compound butter. So what you just watched me do there was pick and pull roughly 2 tablespoons of fresh thyme. And now we're chopping some shallots, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use 1 whole small chopped shallot. We're gonna also be doing some garlic here in just a second, but the reason we're doing kind of a lot, and the reason we're doing that is because we're not just making a compound butter, we're making a butter pack for this pork rib roast. We're going to go ahead and chop 2 whole cloves of fresh garlic, and I would suggest using 2 larger size cloves, not those little tiny ones that you sometimes find in the corners. We're going to prep this with some fresh olive oil. What? Fresh olive oil, well, of course it's fresh. Some extra virgin olive oil, and give it a good rub. Rub it nice, but be gentle. Maybe massage a little. We're going to add some salt. We're going to add some garlic powder. And then if you've got time, you're going to want to let this rest in your fridge for about an hour. If you have 2 hours, even better. So you remember those delicious little herbs and spices we chopped up earlier? Well, now we're going to add them into a bowl of butter. This is 1 whole half stick of butter. And what you're going to want to do is maybe put it in the microwave before adding these ingredients for about 10 to 15 seconds, just to soften it up a little bit, because what we're going to do then is we're going to beat the out of it. Okay, maybe that's an over-exaggeration, and before we do that, we're going to add about a tablespoon or so of that fresh olive oil we had from earlier, as well as some salt to taste. Don't forget a little fresh ground black pepper, and then it's time for the beating. Okay, well, I'm sorry, I keep saying beating. It's not a beating. What we're going to do is we're going to just basically whip it a little with a fork here. This should be easy to do if you soften this butter up correctly, but if you've melted the butter too much, you're gonna wanna put it back in the fridge and let it reconstitute just a little bit. You just want soft butter, not melted butter. Now here's the fun part. This is where you're gonna go ahead and take your hands, you're gonna get your hands dirty here, so just be prepared, and you're gonna rub this stuff all over your roast. You're gonna wanna make sure though, that you leave a little bit of butter left over, because we're going to give this a finishing baste towards the end of the cook. This process here is why we made it to make sure that we didn't melt our butter, because you can see if you had melted butter, this just wouldn't work here. So it's very important that you keep the consistency of this to essentially a paste. Your oven should be preheated to 500 degrees, and when it's ready, you're going to throw this roast in for about 10 minutes, and then you're going to turn the heat down immediately after that to 400. You're going to be looking at a total cook time here of about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your oven. But once you're about 20 minutes into your cook, you're going to want to bring this little baby out, and you're going to want to put the rest of that butter we reserved on the top. Try to spread it around a little if you can and let it melt over. Close it up and let it finish. Something to note is nowadays it is 100% okay to cook pork to a medium rare or slightly medium rare cook temperature. So 145 when you pull it out of the oven, or 150, and then let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes, and you're going to be just fine. This little cap top here that I'm cutting off, interestingly, was a piece of shoulder that was still left, and that was actually the shoulder bone still at the top. But man, when you're done with this thing and you get carved into it, you're going to be surprised not only how much it looks like prime rib, but it's every bit as tender. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. Hope you have a great week.